Hello and welcome. My name is Martyn and I'm founder of Shillingford Organics and owner of this lovely farm in South Devon. So we've been organic now for nearly 20 years, and when I first went organic, which was in the late 90s, at the time I was getting really disillusioned. We were quite a big intensive arable farm, in fact, growing various wheat, barley and oats and beans. And I became really disillusioned with that farming system. And in fact, at the time, farming was changing so rapidly and farms were getting bigger and bigger and becoming more and more specialised and intensive. And that was just the way that farming had the way it had to go to survive. And this was because of globalisation and competition from commodities and crops all around the world. So that was the way farming was going, and I just, I was getting towards 40, and that wasn't the future that I wanted to go forward with. So I made a very strong, powerful decision at the time to actually not do the opposite, but almost not to go down that route at all and become organic. Now, I'd seen my brother being organic, and I'd seen that his crops were really healthy and good. And I thought, well, this is a bit crazy that we're producing big commodities to sell, and we didn't know where they were going on a global market. But why couldn't, we're so near quite a big city, Exeter, why couldn't we grow produce organically on the farm without a lot of inputs and supply them locally? And at the time, at the late 90s, climate change was a big issue then, and loss of biodiversity. We knew these things were happening then, and it just seemed, I'd been part of Friends of the Earth for a few years, and it just seemed, as an environmentalist at the time, it just seemed that was going to be the way forward. So in 1998 we started converting to organic, and by 2000 a lot of the farm had converted, and by 2001 we'd almost fully converted the farm. And at the time we did get subsidies to do this. We had grants to convert to organic, so it was viable economically, which was really important. It was viable for the business to do this, so we did take one big step at the time. So I started growing vegetables as well, which I'd never done before. We'd always, as I said, growing cereal crops, so that was a big learning curve. And actually I was fortunate to start growing for Riverford at the time. They needed more suppliers to their growing demand for what they were doing. So in 2000 we started growing our first organic vegetables, and then I was fortunate enough to meet a couple from about 5 miles from here called Tim and Jan Dean, who'd been growing vegetables in the Teignmouth Valley, which is an area near here, and they'd been selling them through their own box scheme. They were about the first people to start a box scheme in this country in the early 90s, and they'd developed quite a good market from their village and other local villages. I was fortunate enough to meet Tim, and Tim was getting disillusioned himself because it was such hard work for him to produce these really good crops, but on such a small scale. And we sort of hatched this plan to work collaboratively. He would grow some of the crops, and I would grow on our different soils here other crops, and we pack the boxes together and deliver them. So I was really fortunate to have Tim, because he didn't realise one thing, was that I didn't know much about growing vegetables, and actually it's a big change. So Tim was a really good mentor for me. Tim and Jan were both great mentors for me, and so I joined their box scheme in effect, and it went really well. And from then on, that's how we started. So Tim retired 5 years later, and by that time the box scheme was expanding and we were growing more and more vegetables. So we changed the name to Shillingford Organics in about 2004, as we were supplying a lot to very locally here, which is our city, which is only about 3 miles away. And steadily we've grown the amount of vegetables we grow, and we've expanded the range of vegetables we grow, and we've expanded the amount we sell by incrementally increasing each year the number of box customers. And then we started the Farmers Market in Exeter and found wholesale outlets which we supply. So we've been able to, so the problem is we can't grow vegetables without having a market for them, but we've steadily grown the market year on year on year, and now we've reached a position we're in. So at the moment, the farm is actually 200 acres in size, which would be a huge amount of vegetables we grow. And of course, being organic, we have a fertility building phase, which is grass clover. But the parts of the farm that aren't growing vegetables, we're growing cereals. But the more vegetables we grow, the less cereals we grow. We're taking the land from the cereals to grow the vegetables. And our aim really is to grow more and more vegetables, which will ultimately mean less and less cereals, and grow crops that we can supply locally. So we also have three flocks of 100 birds each. So we have 300 chickens, laying chickens to sell eggs. And we put those into egg boxes and sell them at the market, and sell them through the box scheme. So it's all produce we can sell and easily sell locally. So, and the other concept we realised that we could start producing fruit, because that was easy to sell. So we started growing apples. We started planting apple trees as early as 2003, with the realisation we could sell that quite easily. So we've been growing organic vegetables 21 years now, and it is a very sustainable system. The rotation is sustainable because we're just using grass clover and green manures and a bit of our own compost. And we've had really good crops for almost all of those years. The only one year we had a problem with the crops was in, I think it was 2012, when it had a horrendously wet summer. It rained all the way through April, May, June and early July, and it was really cold, and it just planting crops, seeds, and they just weren't surviving. So that was the one problem we've ever had. And our soils, which are really quite free draining, that was a very unique year, and hopefully won't get many like that again. The only other time we had a problem was more about a financial problem, was when the crash in 2008-9 happened. At the time we did a box scheme which started in July, but we finished every year at the end of April because of the hunger gap, which is May, June, when it's very difficult to produce produce. We always stop the box for 6 to 8 weeks, and then always start the box scheme again in early July, late June, early July, and our customers were really pleased to see us. But in that year, we went to tell our customers that we were restarting again in the beginning of July, and something like 30% of the customers didn't come back, and it was just they just perceived that not having their veg box was a saving for them. In fact, that was very short-lived, and we did just keep going. We had to keep going, and that was, it was hard at the time. Financially, I had to borrow some more money, but actually, over time, the customers, within the next 2 or 3 years, I think people realised that having fresh organic vegetables is really good value. So, and that one hard year, weather-wise, we just had to accept that's the way it was, and that's the nature of farming, unfortunately. So we just keep going, and it's sort of farmer resilience, actually. If you look at farmers around the world, they're quite resilient characters, and it's part of the job we have. I think being pig-headed is really helpful as an organic farmer. So I'm really pleased that we've sustained this. We've been consistently going on. It's been quite a lot of determination and resilience through the good times and not so good times. So it's really great that we got to this position 21 years later of still producing really good produce, having a really good market now, and a growing market. Actually, I think there's a more of a greater realisation more now than ever before of the importance of local food and what organic can do for the environment and the ecology and the biodiversity. So I think we've got a really good future, and I'm really pleased that we've kept going. We've got to this stage we're at, and also just the success to me isn't. I mean, the business is financially sound now, which is good, but success is more than that. It's about. I mean, I think one of the best indicators of how well the soils are and how the biodiversity, the balance of the biodiversity on the farm is just the birds. I think the birds are probably the best indicator because they're sort of higher species, and so we just have such a wonderful, diverse range of birds and flocks of birds and swallows and swifts, and now we've even got a flock of 200 or 300 goldfinches which just feed on the seeds here, and it's just wonderful to see, and all the insects and animals, and it's just a joy, brings me great joy to see that actually. So I really want to say a huge thank you to the team that are working here. Now we have a really strong, good team of people working here, and I've sort of stepped back from managing it, and the guys here sort of look after the different crops and packing the boxes and delivering the boxes. So we do have a great team of, everyone works really well together, and they're so responsible in their roles. We all have different roles, and it just works really well together for us, and it's a joy to be here working together. And also, of course, the people we're supplying, our customers, and just having an interaction with our customers, and when we see them at the farmers markets, or hopefully see them coming out to the farm on our events, or the events we have on the farm, it's really great to meet people, engage with them, show them where the crops come. They know where the crops are coming from, we know who we're supplying. It's supplying local food to local folk, and that's what we want to do. That's a fundamental thing of what we wanted to be doing. So I'm really grateful to everyone who's buying from us. In a way, you're sustaining the business, you're keeping us going, you're enabling us to employ people here, give good jobs, good people, and so it's a circular thing. We're in effect, we're all working together. My hope and ambition for the future is that we continue doing what we're doing, but we encourage more people to come to the farm. We have a farm school here, so it's great to be having the kids learning about where their food comes from and interacting with nature. It's great having the events, so we want more of that, more opportunity for people to come and just walk around and enjoy the space, enjoy the farm, being so near Exeter. And actually, just from a food resilience thing, just the fact that we can supply a whole range of produce, being on this fantastic soil with this really good temperate weather, we can supply a range of food just to our city, just locally, without depending on imported vegetables or imported fruit. And 53% of our vegetables are imported at the moment, and 84% of our fruit. So we do have ambitions to grow more soft fruit and more plums and cherries and pears in the long term, and these are all long-term projects, and we are starting these projects to get going. So I know the education is really important to me, especially for the children. I just feel really passionate that young people need to know, engage with nature and engage with where their food comes. And actually school meals, if we could change the nature of how the schools offer school meals and have local food, local fresh vegetables which are very nutritious, and local fruit in their school meal, as part of their school meals, that would be a great win for me. So these are all our ambitions for the future. We've got plans to make these happen, and with a fantastic team of people around us, I believe we can, and I think the time is right to make these changes politically, and climate change is such a big issue now. It's madness importing all this produce, fresh vegetables, which are, they're very bulky, and just transporting them such a long way, depending on diesel or aviation fuel, it's just not sustainable. We need more of a resilient food system and shorten the food chains to supply people. So if you want to support us in this, please come to our website, just try our veg boxes, come to the farmers market. On a Thursday at Exeter Farmers Market, it's really quite busy. It's actually a very community feel. Just come along, have a chat and see what we do. And especially at this time of year, in the autumn, there's an abundance of produce around. And yeah, please join us. Please come to our events. We advertise our events on the website as well, so please be part of what we do. We be really pleased to meet you. Thank you.